I talk to a lot of people getting ready for retirement, and the ones that seem to be the happiest, or puts a big grin on their faces, are those that have a pension. They always think, hey, if my pension covers all my bills, I'm set, right? Honestly, that's how it feels. A guaranteed paycheck every month. Now, who wouldn't want that sense of security? But sometimes what looks perfect on paper has a few hidden surprises. So let me tell you about Mark and Mary, whose story gives us something to think about. So, a little background on Mark and Mary. They're both age 52, they're full of energy, and they're already dreaming about life after work. Their plan: retire at 54, buy an RV, and see every corner of the country. They just want freedom and fun and no more alarm clocks. Mary told me we run our numbers, and between Mark's pension, which is around $8,000 a month, and our savings, we can finally do it. We want to live on around $7,000 a month, so we even have some cushion. And she's right. They've done a great job. On top of that pension, they've also saved around $400,000 in retirement accounts and a little extra cash stashed away. When I first looked at their retirement plan, I thought, wow, this is one of the best situations that I've seen in a while. With Social Security set to kick in down the road, their future looked really bright. Mark and Mary were practically ready to retire and fire up that RV. But as we talked more, I realized that there's one question that changes everything. And I looked over at Mary and I asked her, what happens if Mark passes away before you do? Well, suddenly the mood shifted, and I saw that little flicker of worry in her eyes. And it turns out, if Mark were to pass away, his pension, her lifeline, drops from $8,000 a month to $5,000 a month. And like a lot of couples, their Social Security income would go down to one paycheck, not two. That's a much bigger gap than it sounds. It means Mary would have to dig deep into her savings each month just to keep up her lifestyle, especially if she's still healthy and wants to keep traveling. When we mapped out the numbers all the way to her age 90, she'd still get by. But her assets shrank by almost 65% compared to if Mark had lived. That was the gut punch. Suddenly, what felt like a rock solid plan started to look a little fragile. Now, Mary looked at me and asked, is there anything we can do to protect ourselves, especially me, if something happens to Mark? Well, obviously, the answer is absolutely. And that's where real planning begins. First, I told him, don't stop investing just because things look good now. That $400,000 is a great foundation. But with inflation always lurking, keep building up those accounts. And this is going to give you, Mary, more flexibility, more options if your income takes a hit one of these days. Then we talked about life insurance. With a bit of their discretionary income, Mark could get a policy so that if the worst happened, Mary would get a lump sum tax-free. That extra cushion would help her cover the income gap and even let her keep living out those dreams on the road. There's also the pension survivor options to consider. Sometimes it's worth taking a little less each month now in exchange for more security for the spouse later. Now, every couple's needs are different, and what fits best is really personal. Here's the bottom line. Pensions are amazing. There's no question about that. They make retirement planning so much easier. But a pension by itself isn't a plan for both people. It's just the starting point. For Mark and Mary, putting a few more guardrails in place gave them peace of mind. Now they know no matter what life brings them, neither one of them is left out in the cold. And isn't that the point of retirement? It's not just freedom and adventure, but knowing you're both taken care of, whatever the future holds. So if you or someone you love has a pension, I hope you'll think about the what ifs too. Because retirement isn't just about the numbers today. It's about keeping the promises that you make to each other, even when life throws you a curveball. Thanks for listening to Mark and Mary's story. If this made you think, share it with a friend or family member who could use a little more security in their own plans. And then remember, great retirements are built, not just found.